driving is what we're talking about today. Should I drive or should I fly? If you have a trip that's more than 3 hours by car, chances are you've asked yourself this question at some point. Like, you can book a flight, but you could get there by car if you wanted to. So today we're gonna chat a bit just about some things to consider to help you make a decision on whether or not you should drive for your next trip. I was inspired to make this video because I asked myself this exact same question recently. Sometimes I just need someone to like tell me what to do, so hopefully this video helps anyone that happens to go through the same thinking process that I do. My name's Natalie, by the way. I talk about all things travel and aviation, as well as personal and professional development. If any of these things sound fun to you, be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. And with that, let's get right into it. So I asked myself this question about whether or not I should drive or fly because I went to Dallas, Texas recently for work, did some visits over there and met with some nice colleagues. I also went to this event called Jets in Capital, and the drive to Dallas from San Antonio, Texas, where I live, is about 4.5 to 5 hours by car, like assuming that there's no traffic. Driving is definitely different than flying is. So let's look at the pros and cons of driving. And hopefully hearing these things will help to make the right decision according to your unique situation. So for the pros, one can make the argument that it's good to have your car with you. When you have your car, you basically have the freedom to stop off anywhere you would need to. Like if you're a sales rep, for example, you're going from San Antonio to Dallas, we'll just use that as an example, but you want to stop in Waco and you want to stop in Austin to visit some customers. Like, you have the freedom to do that. Whereas if you're gonna go and like try to book a flight, you have to kind of plan those layovers ahead of time. And chances are when you're flying, you're not gonna have as much flexibility for places you can stop off. Like, you can't necessarily find a lot of flights going from San Antonio to Austin. I don't even know if they exist, but yeah, you have the freedom to stop whenever you want, wherever you want. When you have your car with you, you make the rules basically on when you want to stop, if you want to stay the night somewhere, etc. Having a car with you is also good if you have like a lot of presentation materials that you take with you when you visit your customers. Like, for example, as an aircraft interior designer, I have a lot of sales reps with different fabric lines, carpets, etc. And they come and visit me in San Antonio and they bring their whole collection with them for me to look at. And then if I want samples of anything so that I can show it to my customers, then they're able to bring all those things with them because they're in the car and they're driving. So it's really nice to be able to have all of that just in the trunk of your car. You also don't have to depend on like a taxi or an Uber or a Lyft or anything like that because you'll have your car with you. Driving is also less expensive than flying in most cases. It's really expensive to fly these days and I get very irritated by it, but it is what it is. Whenever you travel a lot on the road as well, you kind of like develop these rituals that you have on the road. Like, for example, one of my rituals, I love to stop by Buc-ee's and I love to have like a cute little beverage with me. Like, even if I'm going across town, I love having a cute beverage with me. I'm just a beverage person. I love my iced coffees. I love my hot coffees. And I've recently gotten into like tea. I also love smoothies as well. I love smoothies. For those of you that are wondering as well, this is just like a shot of espresso along with some sugar-free oat milk and honey. Traveling by car can also be a lot of fun if you're like not on a time crunch and you can just like take your time and enjoy the open road and like put on some good music or a podcast. Yeah, driving can be a lot of fun, like if you plan it just right. There are some drawbacks to driving, however. So one of the biggest things to think about, you can't divert your attention off the road whenever you're traveling long distance, and it can be so easy to do this. Like, I very easily get like highway hypnosis. It's whenever you're like looking at the road, but you're also like disassociated in a sense. Like, I don't know, your mind just kind of numbs out, or at least mine does, whenever there's like not a whole lot going on around me. But then whenever someone like slams on the brakes in front of me, it like totally catches me off guard. You always have to be paying attention and you always have to be on, and cruise control can only do so much. Also, whenever you're traveling on the road, there's just overall more of a safety risk. This goes for car accidents on the road. Like, overall, there are more car accidents that happen as opposed to plane accidents. You also might encounter some kind of odd characters whenever you're on the road. Like, say you're at a gas station and you're like filling up at like this weird gas station because like you really had to like powder your nose and you really had to get gas. Like, sometimes there just isn't another option for like miles and miles down the road. And so you don't really know the people that are in that area. I'll be really quick with this story, but this one time I was driving from Lake Charles, Louisiana to San Antonio, Texas, and it was 4 in the morning. I wasn't quite at the Texas border yet. Whenever you're approaching the Texas border and you're coming from the Louisiana side, like the trees are very, very tall, and whenever it's dark outside, it just seems to be a lot darker than it actually is because of how tall the trees are. And anytime you try to like exit for a gas station, like it's always kind of like in the woods somehow a little bit. Like it's off the freeway, but it's also kind of like in the woods. And so this one time I like really had to powder my nose and like I just could not wait for the Buc-ee's in Baytown. Like I just had to pull off. And so then I don't remember what gas station it was, but like I got out and there were like all of these cars that were just lined up. There were people in every single one of the cars. They were all sleeping, but not just like sleeping, like they were all just like I was really creeped out. That was like 5 cars. They were all doing that. And it wasn't like they were truck drivers. Like they were cars just like mine. Some of them were SUVs. And it was just the weirdest thing. If I did not have to powder my nose so much, I totally would have like gotten back in the car so fast. I decided to take the risk. Not that I would advise anybody else do this, but I just took the risk. I bucked up and I walked with confidence inside. And then it was very dimly lit inside too. Like there wasn't really a lot of light, but the gas station was still open. It ended up being just fine. Like nothing happened and no one like bothered me, but it was still really, really weird. And it's still something that I remember to this day. You see really weird things on the road and you just don't entirely know if like your safety is at risk or if you're gonna be fine. Like, and you take calculated risk based on like your own experience and your own comfort level. Like I said, I wouldn't advise like anybody just do that because that is very strange to like just see all of those people like that, but who knows? They could have been driving as a group and like maybe they just all collectively decided to like pull off and they didn't want to like invest in a hotel, but they had to stay the night. Like we just don't know. The roads overall too are just very unpredictable. Like if you're driving on the interstate, there's an accident that happens just a little bit farther up the road that can back up traffic so much and you'll be just at a standstill and not know what to do, what's going on, and then all of a sudden like traffic just speeds up. Like it makes you want to put on a show and just wait for it to clear up. Like it can get to that kind of a standstill. Whenever you drive, like you do have to plan ahead just a little bit more, just in case there's an accident that happens or anything happens on the road that you can't really control. Very strange things happen on the road. Flying in comparison overall as well can just be a more productive use of time. For example, you can find a lot more pockets of time to like answer emails, if you have to like put together a report, or if you have to do something for work, chances are you're gonna have more of an opportunity to do that whenever you're at the airport or on the plane. It's a little bit more flexible when you're not behind the wheel of a car. Another con to driving is just the overall sense of being on edge. Every time I get done like traveling long distance, it's a different level of exhausted than it is whenever I'm coming back from the airport. I've got more of a headache and I just feel like the wind was knocked out of me, and even my muscles are a lot more tense. It's like I just did a workout or something. Like it's just a lot more intense, I find. Also, if it's a longer road trip, like if it's anything over like 5 or 7 hours, then chances are it's gonna take a lot longer to get to that destination as opposed to if you were to book a flight instead. And it depends on what kind of a trip you wanna make it. Like some people are really into the whole like road trip kind of a thing, and I don't mind that if I have time to like prepare for that, and that's totally cool. Overall, flying is just a more comfortable experience, I find. It's just very time efficient. I did decide to fly to Dallas. There were a few reasons for that, because I did actually debate like whether or not I should actually just drive. But one, I can make sure that I stay on schedule just a little bit more if I just take like a morning flight. Morning flights typically don't have as many delays as like afternoon flights do. Two, I can be productive with my time at the airport or on the plane. Like I ended up getting so much done because my hands weren't tied up like behind the wheel. Three, I didn't have to worry about keeping my eyes on the road. Like the pilot can do that. And four, I also don't mind taking Uber. Again, I would rather somebody else drive. I can, but I like it better when somebody somebody else does. If you weren't able to tell already, I do have a bias for flying, and I do prefer to fly as much as possible. So I used to work out of Lake Charles, Louisiana, and I worked there for about 2 years, and I would drive back and forth quite a bit between Lake Charles and San Antonio. And I've just learned a lot of things from my time being on the road. For a little bit of context, Lake Charles and San Antonio are about 5 hours apart without traffic. But if I didn't leave at like just the right time, it's taken me 8 hours to get there before. There were way too many people on the road, and that was what would affect what time I would arrive as well, in addition to the weird things happening. I also lost control of my wheel one time. Like, that was scary. I was also coming back from a hurricane evacuation. Like, when that happened, when I lost control of my wheel, I was already on edge at that time. I just pulled off to the Buc-ee's at Katy. Like, this is where it happened. And then I like called my mom, and I was like, I have to be on the road for 3 more hours. I was just so upset. It makes me upset all over again, like just thinking about it right now. Oh my gosh. I would also get stuck behind people that just wouldn't secure objects on top of their car properly. I've had like a giant flamingo floaty fly off, and I had to like swerve to miss it, and thank God there was no one next to me. Like, what? But that's not the only thing either. Like, I've had other things fly out. The floaty was just the most memorable one. The other ones weren't that brightly colored, but I don't like that. Also, going back to like the highway hypnosis thing, like, you know, it's really easy whenever you're just driving straight for however long and you're just on cruise control and you're just cruising, and like the person in front of you slams on their brakes, which makes you slam on your brakes because you don't notice it until like the last second. So it's like, I can't do anything. Like, I can't relax. I can't, like, you can for a little bit, but you still have to like pay attention. It's not like you can just like completely unwind. When you're on an airplane, you just get to your seat and you crash out. There have been so many times when I was scared on the road. All of that to say, I definitely have a personal bias when it comes to like driving versus flying, and I will fly whenever I can. When I did decide to make this switch when I was in Lake Charles, my pocketbook definitely didn't like that I switched to flying, but in my opinion, like, safety is my first priority, and like I have to look out for myself, and I have to make sure that like that I'm staying safe as much as possible. And the more you're on the road, the more your chances of something happening increase. I'd like to decrease those possibilities if I can. So this is more of a chatty video of just talking about the good, bad, and ugly of driving. For this pros and cons list, I did try to make it as objective as possible, even though I have a personal bias. I hope it was objective enough, because there are good things that come with driving. You know, that freedom, that flexibility, and you just have to be a lot more alert. And everybody's situation looks different, and everyone has different things to consider for their trip. Everyone has a different mission for their trip. Leave a comment below if you prefer to drive or fly, and why. If you like this video and if you want to see more like this, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss another video. I so appreciate you watching until the end, and I will see you in the next video.